Whether you teach from your house or you're teaching online from your house, maybe you have a music membership for students or teachers. Perhaps you run music courses online. Whatever you do, if you are working from home, it can be a struggle to make sure that we actually clock out. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. I'm going to be discussing 5 different tactics that will help you clock out when you work from home, because we know that it's really easy to say things like, maybe I'll just send more and more email. Maybe I'll just check on that group one more time. Or, hey, I've got a spare hour. Why don't I revamp my studio policies? And we all know how that spare hour goes, right? We all know that hour turns into 4. And before you know it, you are working more than you want. Because when you're working from home, it can feel challenging to be able to walk away from work because it's always right there, right? You're passing by that computer, you've got that phone in your hand, you're walking by the piano that's in the living room or wherever you're teaching from, and those boundaries are hard to maintain. So I've done a bunch of research over the past couple of weeks. I've read a lot of blogs, and I think I've distilled some good information for you all. And I wanted to choose this topic because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. As you can see, I am here in my house, and I struggle with these boundaries too. So if you haven't caught on already, sometimes the topics that I choose are things that I'm working on myself. So I hope you're going to enjoy this conversation today. To those who are joining on Instagram, I see Cavallani Music is here. Hello, nice to see you. I'm going to give you a little wave. Hopefully, I hit the little button. All right, if you are joining on Instagram and you want to see the fancy stuff, you can hop on over to YouTube or on Facebook. For those who are joining live or on the replay, I encourage you to stop by, say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from today. And let me know if you too have struggled with clocking out when you're working from home, because I think that this is something that a lot of us struggle with and nobody really talks about it. So that's why we're here. All right. So if you're new, I just want to say welcome. My name is Sara Campbell. I am a business strategist, mindset, and marketing coach for music studio owners and online education experts just like yourself. And I go live here every Wednesday where we unpack those topics, where we talk about the business strategies that we need in order for our businesses to be successful, where we talk about all of the mindset stuff that we need to have in place for those strategies to work. We're going to be digging into that today for sure. And where we talk about, marketing, because it's one of my happy places. So welcome to the broadcast, everyone. Let's get things started here with a little bit of intro music. And we are back. So the topic of the day is 5 tactics to help you clock out when you work from home. We're going to be going through a lot of details on these today, and I might have some bonus tips for you that I haven't actually dropped into the lower thirds, so we'll see what happens here. Before we get into this, I'll say hello. We've got Anna tuning in from Wildwood, Florida. We've got Susan tuning in from Ohio. Susan, I got your email. I will respond. And Christine's tuning in from Baltimore. Sally says that she definitely struggles with this. 2 nights ago, I worked until 10:15 while your husband watched TV. Yeah, family togetherness. Hey, Leishan, so good to see you tuning in from Tacoma, Washington. Thanks for being here, everybody. If you have a teacher friend or just a friend, because I feel like these tactics that we're going through, this is not limited to music teachers. If you have somebody in your life who could benefit from joining in on this conversation with us, please take this opportunity, take just a quick second here and invite them to let them know that the broadcast is going on. So this goes for the replay viewers too. If you have somebody who you think this would be useful for, I just noticed that this thing is like in the way. Sorry, Instagrammers. This is kind of funny. Okay, we're going to move Okay, we're going to move the camera over. We're good now. All right. Sorry if you saw the phone kind of dangling in the way there. All right, so we're going to get to all of the good stuff here. But before we do that, I want to remind those who are watching live or on the replay, if you hear something that's valuable today, please give us a hashtag takeaway and put what that value is inside of the chat. This is helpful for two reasons. It's helpful because those who are watching on the replay, they can see the good conversation going on and they know what to expect right away. And it's also helpful for you because by sharing that takeaway, you're taking that extra step to solidify what you're learning, right? So take a moment to type it in. And it also gives you an opportunity to put that out into the universe to say, hey, I'm actually going to implement this stuff. Okay. We have the Savvy Sarah bot all set up and ready to go. For those who are on Facebook, you can drop the words clock out. And actually, I'm going to kind of hop over onto Facebook here to make sure that everything is good to go. I think I'm also going live on the personal page, and I realized that I want to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on the chat over there, balancing all the things. Oh, hey there, Sadie. Sadie's tuning in over there. She says her work-life balance is crazy right now. She can't stay long, but because she's in mid-afternoon lessons. Oh, that's cool. All right, so let's get to all the good stuff today. We're going to start with our first tip here. Give me a moment. I can't see what I'm doing. All right, here we go. So our first tip of the day, here we go. All right, some of these are going to feel like, duh, Sarah, I should totally do these things. And I think I've also got a couple of tips that are surprising. Like I mentioned at the top here, I did a lot of reading over the past several weeks, reading a lot of blogs about how we can clock out when we work from home. And some of the tactics that I found were really is surprising. Oh, okay. Karen, you're commenting from your business page, and the Savvy Sarah bot cannot send things to your business page. So if you comment from your personal account, she can send you things. All right. So tip number 1 is make a schedule. Make a schedule. And, this is something that I think many of us avoid because we're like, oh, do I really need to make a schedule? Like, do I actually have to? Sorry, you can see me doing that stuff behind the scenes because I'm grabbing the YouTubers. Do I actually have to have hours? Yes. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. You are working. Most of us are working for ourselves. We're sole props, right? We don't have a boss telling us what time to show up to work and what time to leave work. So it's really important that we take some time to establish those things for ourselves. So if you haven't established a schedule or working hours, that's the first step that I encourage you to take. I'm just adding the notes for the YouTubers. All right, there we go. So I would love to know, for those who are watching right now, what does your schedule look like? When do you clock in? When do you clock out? Let's establish some hours first. Now, there's many different ways that we can do this. I'd say that probably my favorite way to do this is to do block scheduling. I use a couple different schedulers. I typically rely on my iCalendar most of the time, just because I have a lot of online appointments that are set through Acuity, and all of those appointments go over there. I have my music staff hooked up to that as well. Hey, Sheller JM is joining us over on Instagram. Hello. And, having that calendar is a good first step. Now, once you have, I would love to know, actually, okay, what kind of a calendar and scheduling system are you using? Drop that down in the chat because I want to talk about specific ways that you can customize your scheduler. So once you have some type of a calendar that is telling you when you have to be in lessons or blah, 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 then it's time to take it a step further. You need to build in your admin hours and actually get real about when you're going to be in work mode and when you're not going to be in work mode. See, Cavallani Music says that they use Square appointments. That's cool. I've heard some good things about Square appointments, so I hope that's working well for you. All right, great. Bethany Turpin's over on YouTube. She says Acuity linked to a Google Calendar. Dawn uses My Music Stuff. Dawn, did you get a hold of the beta tester thingy? I just looked at it this morning. It's super cool. Karen says she has a physical planner. Great. Sally says My Music Stuff. Okay, good. So with My Music Stuff, one of the things that you could do if you're using that natively and you're not pushing that out to like a Google Calendar or an iCalendar or something like that, one of the things that you can do is, block off time in that My Music Stuff calendar that shows when you're doing admin work. So think about how much time do I need each week for, let's list off some things, right? Lesson prep. How much time do I need to check on billing? How much time do I need to check on marketing, right? All of these little tasks that we have to do, responding to client emails. There's so many little tiny things that we do that we don't put in the schedule. And when we don't put those things in the schedule, we run the risk of just doing them at random times throughout the day and creating this crossover that happens between work and play, right? Or work and life. Hey, Kelly is over on Instagram. Nice to see you. I love that. I see more comments here about what we're using. Laura's using Google Calendar. She uses it consistently for her behind the scenes admin stuff. I'm so happy to hear that, Laura. That's great. Leishan uses Acuity linked to her iPhone. Susan uses a physical planner. Yeah, you know what, Susan? I use a physical planner as well. I actually have multiple planners to help me, stay focused, to help me establish routines, and to help me set my boundaries, right? Cavallani Music says, yes, we need to put things on the calendar or they don't happen at all. Yes. Okay, so that's the first thing. So I'd love, if you are listening, I would love you to make a commitment to yourself right now. You ready? I would love for you to make a commitment to look at what are the things that you do as a business owner that have a tendency to creep into your personal time. Okay, so you're going to make a short list. And actually, if you'd like to share those things with us and, we can help hold you accountable right now, do it. Make a list of the things that have a tendency to, show up at, like somebody said, 10 o'clock at night, right? Or that maybe eat up hours on your weekend that you didn't mean to give to work. So make a list of the things that tend to eat up your time, and those are the things that you need to focus on putting on the schedule. So that is our first step. Oh my gosh, Gina, hi. Gina is over watching on the personal page. She says, thank you. This is my biggest problem, admin creep. And Sonia says she uses a Google Calendar that allows you to use a family calendar and a work calendar. Oh, Sonia, I'm so glad that you brought up that point. So many of you have, kids that you are coordinating their schedules. So it can be really useful to make sure that you've got that family calendar where all the things are on there. Oh, this is fantastic. I love this, Laura. She says, I just had an idea. I use Alexa to remind me of my lesson times. I could use her to remind me of my admin hours. I love this. Okay, so Laura, like this ties into like the second part of this first point here, right? Make a schedule, and if you need to, set alarms. Set alarms that tell you what you need to be doing. I have set lots of little alarms. I'm going to take a little sip here. I've set lots of little alarms that remind me to do some small tasks that I don't typically remember to do. Hey there, Piano with Stacy and So Happy Jane. Nice to see you on Instagram. And they're super useful for me. I just use the reminder option on iPhone, and I set them as like recurring weekly reminders. And so it would be really nice to, okay, I'm committing to it right now. So you all are going to hold me accountable. Are you ready? I am going to put a new reminder in my phone that says, stop checking your email, Sara. Because that's one of the things that I struggle with, right? Like I am that constant email checker. And it's just this thing because I have Achiever at my number one for Clifton Strengths and always hoping to get those emails. All right. Okay, so this is tip number one: make a schedule, set alarms if you need to, and something that might help you, or something that you may discover in doing this is that you're going to learn how to track your hours better. The other day, I saw a conversation going on about like kind of feeling guilty about not spending time working, like free time that somebody had, they weren't working, and they felt this tinge of guilt. That they weren't using that free time to work on their business. And the deal is this, like with a regular job, you are clocking in and you are clocking out, right? And we don't do that. We don't have a punch card where we are clocking in and clocking out. And because of that, I think there's this issue because we don't have awareness around how much time we're actually working. Now, if you use a zero-based scheduling type of thing and you start putting the hours on the clock, you may be surprised. You may be really surprised that you are working way more than you realized. So there you go. That's tip number one. Let's head to tip number two. I like what I'm seeing here in the comments. Dawn says that her number one thing that creeps into time is responding to scheduling requests. I think that's valid, and I think a lot of people struggle with that. If you struggle with that, let Dawn know she's not alone. Karen has shared a number of things: new client inquiries, client notifications of absences, questions about practice assignments, excited parents that send me a video of their kids. Yeah, so there are all these little things that we spend a lot of time responding to, and if we don't have boundaries around that it can feel like you're always working. Pete has a great bit of advice here. He says, I try to use no tech before 11 a.m., not even the phone. That time of the morning is spent for kids, coffee, and reading. And that's beautiful. You've stopped panicking about getting leads. I love it. What's beautiful is that when we can set those boundaries and we have that time where we are living our life and drinking our coffee, playing with kids or cats, a beautiful thing happens. We start trusting that the universe is going to send what we need our way. And we stop worrying about those inquiries. And guess what? The inquiries come. They continue to come. Yeah, I love that. Elizabeth, I think that's true. It's very inspiring, Pete. It's excellent stuff. Okay, so let's keep grooving here. Let's move on to tip number two. Oops, why can't I move this off the screen? There we go. All right, so tip number two is to set reasonable goals for the day. Hey, Ron, over on Instagram. Nice to see you. He's my yoga teacher, and he's super cool. All right, so set reasonable goals for the day. I know that one of the things that people typically do, I mean, maybe it's people or maybe it's just me, you make a to-do list. Maybe you make a to-do list at the beginning of the week. Maybe you make it at the beginning of the day. And we have a tendency to shove a lot of stuff on that to-do list. So when I'm talking about setting reasonable goals for the day, go ahead and make that to-do list if you want. Go ahead and make that big to-do list. And then I want you to look at that to-do list. I want you to cross off most of the things. I want you to focus on what are the most important things that I need to do today. What are the things that I might be able to delegate to somebody else? What are the things that can be done another day? Set reasonable goals, because when we do set reasonable goals and we're able to achieve those goals, it's easier to clock out at the end because you're not going to feel like, oh, you look at this to-do list and you're like, okay, well, I only checked off 3 of the 9. And that doesn't feel good, does it? And it makes it hard to clock out because you're thinking of those other 6 things that were on the list that you didn't get to, right? Yeah. Yes, you did find me. Ron says I need to set reasonable goals as well. It's challenging to do. I absolutely agree. Yeah. Okay. I love this. See, Karen says pick 6 most important things because you usually can't achieve more than 6. right? And maybe your capacity changes over time. Maybe 6 things for one day feels good, but you may be at a point, because I know a lot of teachers are experiencing burnout, and burnout's one of those crazy things that creeps on you, and you don't even realize that you have symptoms of burnout until you are in the middle of it. If you are feeling exhausted, maybe 6 is too much. Maybe make it 1. Maybe make it 2. Set reasonable goals of the day. So I'd love, for those who are watching, okay, there's like 20 something of you. If you are watching, I want you to share how many of those things are you going to put on your list? Right now, what is your capacity for, hey, these are how many reasonable things I can do in the day? Share your number down below. And you know what? Don't feel ashamed if that number is low. Right now, for me, that number's low. So I'm going to pick, I'm going to do the things that are on the schedule, like showing up for lessons, like showing up for my clients, running calls, doing those things. And then I'm going to be very selective about the other big tasks that I've done. Okay, I love what Gina just said. Like, rewrite this course is not one thing, right? So maybe, breaking that down into lots of little bits and to say, hey, you know what, today I'm going to write one thing. I am going to write, what is this course about? I'm going to write 1 page. Or I'm going to figure out how many pages I do need to write. I'm going to figure out what the modules are going to be. I like this. Yes. Okay. So Bethany, okay, let's pause and look at the conversation, because this is a really good conversation here. Bethany says, it is crazy how writing a list that is very achievable feels like cheating. Like I might be done early. I shouldn't make a list I can actually achieve. Whoa, Bethany, this is so powerful, right? Because we are, especially in the United States, we are trained to be as productive as possible. And if we are not productive as possible, then we are failing. Sit with that for a second. That if we are not productive as possible, we are failing. Here's the challenge. What if we flipped all this and we thought, hey, for me to be successful, I need to have this balance. I need to be able to clock out. Something that makes me successful is being able to spend time with my friends and have a dinner at 6 o'clock. Something that makes me successful is blocking out those hours in the morning, like Pete said, and being able to hang out with my kids and have coffee and read. Wouldn't that be crazy? All right, I see Alicia says she's got one big thing and 3 little things. I like that. So, the little things, maybe those are easier to put on there. Elizabeth says, hey, my paper church liturgical planner has a slot for 3 things. I'll start there. Beautiful. Sally says, usually 2 to 3 things. Anna says, I pick 3 and then I see how I feel about adding 1 more. I love that. Susan says 4 to 6 tasks for teaching and blogging. I also work a full-time job. Ooh, okay, Instagrammers, we're back. Sorry, we had like a little pause because of weirdness. I like that. Okay, Christine is breaking down her list into categories. Beautiful. Okay, excellent. Let's move into the 3rd tip. Sorry, Instagrammers, it seems like the feed is like a little funky, so doing our best. Yes. Okay. Sonia is over on my personal page. She says these days it's 2 or 3 things in addition to her actual teaching hours. I had to start accepting that I only have so many hours in my day before the kids are home. Exactly. Right. And we want to prioritize our time with them. Laura says that she has a short must do today, and a secondary should do this week or month list. So that's beautiful. I love that idea. All right. So we've gone through tips 1 and 2. Let's move into tip number 3. Hey, if you're enjoying this conversation right now, can you pause and do a couple things for me? 1, give me some thumbs, give me some hearts, because it makes a little fireworks like thing go across my screen and it's really entertaining. And 2, if you have somebody that could benefit from this, let them know about this conversation. All right, we're going to probably run a little long today. Like y'all didn't know that already. Okay, so let's get into the next tip. Tip number 3 is setting boundaries between work and home. Okay, well, what does that look like? All right, this is where we're going to get into the real stuff, y'all. This is where you might feel a little bit uncomfortable. I know that I am going to feel uncomfortable, but just know that I am right there with you. So, there are some physical ways that we can do this. There are also some digital ways that we can do this. Now, when you're working from home, I know that it's not always easy to have a separate workspace. But if that is possible for you, and you can create some type of a physical boundary where you can walk out of the office or where you can shut down the office and put it away, that can be really useful. Maybe if you are teaching in your home and you have maybe your teaching spaces in your living room or a dining room or something, is there a way to shut the door after you're done, or to create some type of a physical thing that you can do? Maybe it's, what are those little triptych things like scrims, that you can like cover up part of the office. And when you do that, it's like being able to close the door. There might be physical boundaries, right? So that's the first thing. Maybe figure out some physical boundaries. I'd love to know, for those who are watching, what type of physical boundary can you create when you're working from home? What is one physical thing that you can do in order to step away? I will share, while you share those things, I'm going to share what I did over the years. When I had first, and this is years ago, when I had first really jumped into, being a coach, I was working from my kitchen table. And I had my laptop there, and I would sometimes put it away. But to be honest, since we don't typically use the kitchen table to eat, we use a different eating space, I was leaving my laptop there. So it made it very easy, not just my laptop, but like spreads of papers and things like that. It made it really easy for me to go back into work mode, because I could see the work there. Then I made a big decision. I said, you know what? I need to feel like I can walk out of my office. And so you can't tell from here, I'm actually set up in our guest room. So on this side of the guest room, it's my office. And I've got desks, I've got whiteboards, I've got the iMac and all these things. But this is a place that I can walk away from, right? This is a place that I can leave. I love what Ron says over here. Okay, work from home /Zoom/Facebook culture has made the boundary weak. Yes, friend, you are so right. This new world that we're in has weakened that boundary between work and home. And it means that we have to spend more time establishing that boundary. So those are some physical boundaries. I'd love for you to share, what are the physical boundaries that you can set between your work and home? Cavalloni Music says, agree. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about digital boundaries. These are the ones that might scare you. So I remember the other day, I got a text from my very good friend and colleague and boss even, Michelle Marquette DeVoe. And she said, oh my gosh, Kristen and Sara, y'all are going to be really proud of me. I can't believe I just did this. I deleted my work email from my phone. Digital boundaries are important because I don't know where my cell phone is. It's somewhere. I left it somewhere. Because we have those cell phones with us, and because we often use our personal phone numbers for work as teachers, there's this boundary that is constantly being crossed, because, like I know Karen had mentioned, hey, the things that tend to eat into my lifetime, my home time, are things, texts from parents. They are emails. They are, asks, where that ask is something where, like, you're there, you're not working, and you're like, oh, it'll only take like 2 minutes for me to do this. So digital boundaries that we can set. You can choose to delete email from your phone. You can choose to delete Facebook from your phone. Ooh, Facebook just heard me say that. Watch out. This video is going to go crazy. You can choose to, instead of using your personal phone as the phone that you use for your business, get a Google number. And you're able to turn that off so that you're not going to see texts, so that and you can tell your clients, hey, I will respond to texts between this hour and this hour. Right? I will respond to phone calls between this hour and this hour, because I want you to think about this for a second. If you worked in an office or in a store, would your boss expect for you to answer emails and phone calls when you are at home? I bet the answer is no. So why do we expect ourselves to do that? This is one of the dangers of being a sole prop, right? It's one of the dangers of working from home. Okay, I see this. I love this. Ronnie says, I've started using Do Not Disturb for set blocks of time. There's Do Not Disturb, for those who are, I'm an iPhone user, sorry for the Android people out there. For these, for iPhone, we have this new focus idea where we can actually set who's allowed to contact us, and you can create different boundaries so that you could turn off texts from clients. You could do all of these things digitally to set boundaries. Now, in doing this, if you are going to set digital boundaries, hey, Miss April's Music Studio, hey, Jana, hey, nice to see you. If you are setting these boundaries and the idea of setting these boundaries makes you feel really nervous, remember, part of doing this is setting the boundaries for yourself, but then also communicating the boundaries to your clients. So there will be some communication that needs to happen. Sonia says, accepting that boundaries can be healthy changes the choice. It changes the choices we make. I've worked really hard to remind myself that as a business owner, I do not need to be on 24/7. Okay, so that is number 3. We have 2 more tips to go through today. I know I'm running long, but thanks for sticking with me, y'all. I think that this is a really important conversation. Okay, so let's go to tip number 4. I love these next 2 tips, you guys. I'm really excited to share these. These are the ones that when I was reading them and I was like, oh, yeah, I totally need to do this. Okay, so here's number 4. I want you to establish, hey, Carly, nice to see you on Instagram. I want you to establish an end of the workday routine. Now, I can share a little bit about what this looks like in my studio. Now, my physical studio is actually not in my home. But the reason I want to use this as an example is because I think kind of starting from here's an example of what it looks like when it's not in your home. We can start taking ideas from this and applying it to what we do at home. So when I'm teaching at my studio, end of the workday routine, here's what it looks like. The last student leaves. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. I'm getting things about stream quality. We got hot weather here today and it's kind of crazy. I love this, Anna. You mean other than grabbing a glass of wine? Well, that's going to be part of our routine for sure. Okay, so what does that routine look like for me? Last student leaves. Okay, and then I get into shut the studio down mode. When that last student leaves, the first thing I do is I lock the door. Lock the door. You can do that at home, right? Easy. Then I walk back down into the studio. I get on the computer and I make sure that I've taken my attendance. I make sure that the lesson notes have gone out. And then I shut down my music stuff. Boom, closing that tab. So I want, establishing this end of the workday, it's like closing tabs out in your browser, right? The computer gets shut down at that point. Laptop is closed, all right? The next step is I look at the stuff that I've got on the piano. At that point, I'm going to put away books and I am going to, neaten up any piles of things that have gotten around the studio. I'm not listening to any music. I'm not talking to anybody when I'm doing this. I am in my quiet time and I am allowing myself to shut down, right? So I do those things. Next, I'm turning off the lights. Turning off the lights. checking the thermostat, and grabbing my purse and walking out the door. Now, for this area here, since I do work primarily from home, 2/3 of my work is from home, what do I do in this office space, right? End of the workday routine is making sure that I'm visiting my list that I had. I'm looking at, okay, here's what I did today. Here's what I'm going to push off until tomorrow. I'm establishing some kind of a boundary that allows me to kind of clock out, right? Again, I'm going through, I'm moving books around. I am making sure that I have the things that I need for tomorrow. I'm turning off the lights. I'm turning off the computer. Establish an end of the workday routine. Yes, like Karen says, like wine and dinner. So I want you to please, if you would be so kind, share 1 or 2 things that would be a part of your end of the workday routine. What does that look like for you? What is something that you can do? Yes, this is beautiful. Karen says, I tell my husband I need some extra minutes to put things away, so that she doesn't have to go back into the studio. Then she changes into comfy clothes. Oh yeah, women, you know what's happening after this. I don't need to say it. Then dinner and wine. Yes, right? Establish that end of the workday routine. Maybe part of that routine is also then setting your phone into focus mode. It's setting your phone into like family mode, whatever that is. This is really important. Have a way to walk away from your work. It builds on what we talked about, those physical boundaries. I like to think of this end of the workday routine. Some of you know I was a waitress. You know, I was a server at a country club for years and years. And I like to think of this as like, these are the things that we do when we shut down the restaurant. What are those? What is that end of the day at the restaurant list that needs to happen? Right? Yes, Pete says, ha ha ha, comfy clothes. Yes. Miss April shares, she says on Instagram, she says, I put my books away. I turn the lights off and I shut the door, even though it's her home office. It's beautiful. And here's a nice, lovely boundary that she set here, and no answering emails until the next morning. And that's beautiful. I love that. Miss April, I'm so glad that you are sharing these ideas here. And Jana as well. Says family mode is a thing on iPhone. There's these new focus modes. And if you haven't investigated them, you can actually set who's allowed to contact you. It's really, really cool. It's super cool. All right, let's continue. We've run very long today. We're going to wrap this up. Here's the final thing. This is my favorite bit. And Matt, if you are watching this, I think this is something that you guys could really use. Talking to you guys, my family. All right. Build a bridge between work and home. Now, we've just talked about all of these boundaries, right? Being able to shut the door, being able to turn off the phone, being able to, have this wall between work and home. But this tip is something that I read in a blog. I need to figure out which blog I read it in. I'm pretty sure I bookmarked it. They talk about building a bridge between work and home. And this is part of establishing an end of the workday routine, but it's a very interesting part. It is something that you are going to do. It is some type of an activity that you do after your workday and before you go into family mode. It's creating this bridge, this space in time where you can decompress. And some of the examples that they gave were things like, go take a 15-minute walk, right? Sit down in a chair and read the newspaper. It is this routine where you're allowing yourself this time to decompress and to clock out, to give yourself that space. I love this idea. Like, what does your bridge look like? I think this is the one, like, if I'm going to pick one of these 5 things for me to do, this is going to be the thing that I'm going to do. And lately for me, that bridge has looked like getting in the car and driving to the gym, and just having that time where you are not working. Oh, say Bethany has her bridge. Her bridge is taking her dog for a walk around the block. For dog owners, I think like that's the perfect bridge because it puts you in a new mindset, right? It shifts your focus. And actually, one of the things that I think is very interesting, and I can't remember what this type of activity is called, but any type of activity that involves both sides of your body. This is me walking, by the way, doing the little walking symbol. Any activity that involves both sides of your body is something that is a really great way to shift the brain, right? Okay. Oh, beautiful. Laura says her bridge is going to be meditation. I like that idea a lot. It's beautiful. Yes, Karen. So I get that, right? It's difficult to do because hubby's already creating dinner. You eat around 7:30 and he goes to bed at 8:30. Maybe that bridge is just a couple of minutes, right? Maybe that bridge is just a quick walk around the house. Ronnie, yes, thank you. My yoga teacher said it. Bilateral movement integration. Find some type of bilateral movement integration as part of your bridge. It's a great way to shift. Maybe that's a series of stretches that you do. Maybe it's just going to take a walk around the block. I love it. Yes, Elizabeth, like cross-brain curriculum, cross-brain training. It's good stuff. All right, we have gone on long enough today. If we're going to do a very quick recap here in just a second. But before we do that, I want to say for those who are still with me, I do have all of these tips typed up for you. So if you want to drop a clock out below, if you are on YouTube, you're going to click the link that I put in the chat. If you are on Facebook, go ahead and put clock out down below. Those on Instagram, let me know if you put a clock out there. I will reach out to you and get you the things with the Savvy Sara bot. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this, like make sure to subscribe, do those things. I'm just hitting the printer here. Ow, that kind of hurt. Cavalloni Music, I see you. I'm going to make sure that I get you all the things. I'm going to reach out to you. Okay, great. Let's do a rapid recap. If you've enjoyed today, hit me up with those hearts. Hit me up with those thumbs. Invite your friends. All right, let's do it. All right, you work from home, whether you are teaching out of your house, whether you are teaching online, whether you have some type of a membership or a course and you're primarily working from home. It is very important for us to be able to clock out when we work from home. Here are 5 ways, real fast like, that you can do this. Ready? Here we go. Tip number 1. Make a schedule. If you haven't done that already yet, I encourage you to make a schedule. You can use something called zero-based scheduling, or it can be as simple as sitting down for the day and writing a list of things that you need to do, right? Make a schedule, and not just the teaching stuff. Make sure that you're including the admin stuff, the things that have to happen behind the scene, and all of the life stuff too. Little tip with this: prioritize the life stuff first. Put that on your calendar first. It's like I put my yoga classes and my workout times on my calendar first. So step number 1, make a schedule. Step number 2 is to set reasonable goals for the day. That does not mean making a list of 12 things and thinking that you're going to get to all those things. Maybe start with that dozen and think, okay, I'm just going to pick one big thing from this list and 3 little things. Know that your capacity will change over time. So what's a reasonable amount of goals on one day may be totally different the next day. Because this idea of not having a boundary between work and home, we run the risk of burnout, right? So make sure that you're setting reasonable goals so that we're not getting burnt out and we're not feeling like we have to work all the time. It feels really good when you've actually checked off the whole list instead of having a giant list of things that you didn't do. All right, step number 3 is to set boundaries between work and home. And I'm talking about both physical boundaries and digital boundaries because, Zoom Live, Facebook, all that stuff has really blurred the boundaries between work and play. So if you can make a physical boundary in your house where you can shut a door or, put up a scrim or shut off the lights and not look at that part of the house, do that. If you can set a digital boundary, having a Google phone number instead of using your personal number, using the focus feature on iPhone, or physically being able to shut that laptop and put it away. That can be another really great thing. So create actual boundaries between work and home. Tip number 4, establish an end of the workday routine. I want you to think about it like you work at a restaurant. What are the things that you're going to do at the end of the day? What are the closing items? What's that checklist where you're like, okay, these are the things I have to do before I leave? Make an actual list and go through that routine in order each time you are shutting down. Creating those routines gives us time for the brain to shift modes. And then finally, the last little thing here is to build a bridge between work and home. Choose some type of an activity where you will actually allow yourself to decompress, even if it's for 3 minutes, or if you can set aside half an hour. Do some bilateral movement. Go take a walk, take your dog out, sit down, read a book, meditate, move. Establish some type of a bridge routine that allows you to relax. All right, that is it for this broadcast. I hope that you found this useful. And if you enjoyed this, please let someone else know about it. Let them know that this is here for them. If you've enjoyed what we talked about, you can also drop the word clock out down below, and we'll send you these show notes via DM. All right, thanks everyone for being here. I really appreciate you. We will be back next time. I'm not sure. The next time, it will not actually be next week. I'm letting you know I'm taking next week off. So if you are looking for me next week, know that I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be running the Instagram Reels workshop, which is sold out, but we're going to be doing some other things for that. I've got plans for that. If you missed out on it, I'll let you know about it. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. We will see you next time. And in the meantime, stay savvy and stay you, because you are an amazing teacher and an amazing human being. And there's no one in the world quite like you. And I think you are pretty dang awesome. We'll see you next time.